Hey Homespot friends, welcome back to the channel. Today we are turning ordinary fallen branches into charming rustic art pieces that can completely change the mood of even the tiniest garden corner. If you love easy DIY, low-cost materials, and cozy natural vibes, stay tuned and get inspired to upcycle what you already have outdoors. Imagine starting with a handful of thin, weathered branches and turning them into a charming mini photo frame for your garden. As you glue each twig around a small piece of glass, the frame slowly takes shape, full of rustic character and natural texture. Once a tiny photo or seed packet is tucked inside, the frame becomes a personal story in your garden. It is a simple project that instantly adds warmth and personality. With just a handful of flexible twigs and a bit of wire, you can twist a small wreath that looks perfectly at home outdoors. As you shape this circle, each curve of wood adds movement and charm, creating a piece that feels handcrafted and authentic. A simple jute bough or a small cluster of dried flowers that completes the look, hanging on a shed door or fence. This miniature wreath welcomes visitors with rustic elegance. Imagine creating a tiny herb drying rack from 4 slim branches and some twine, just big enough for a small garden corner. You lash the sticks together into a simple frame, then tie on little bundles of rosemary, thyme, or sage. As the herbs dry in the gentle breeze, they bring both fragrance and texture. The rack becomes a functional decoration, proving that even the smallest rustic project can feel thoughtful and intentional. Think about lining a flower bed with a row of evenly spaced twigs, each one pushed straight into the soil. Together, they form a low, rustic border that gently defines the edge between grass and blooms. The natural color and texture of the branches blend beautifully with the plants, without feeling too formal or rigid. It is an easy, low-cost way to bring structure to small beds while keeping a soft, organic look. Visualize gathering 3 sturdy branches and tying them together at the top to create a tiny tripod plant stand. Once it stands firmly, you place a small terracotta pot in the center, lifting it just above the ground. This simple change adds height and interest, making a modest plant feel like a special feature. The rough wood, the clay pot, and the living green leaves work together in a perfect rustic combination. Imagine crafting a delicate mobile from light twigs, beads, and perhaps a few shells or charms. You balance each branch carefully so that everything hangs in harmony. Then suspend the piece above a bench or in a quiet patio corner. As the breeze moves through, the mobile sways gently, casting shifting shadows and catching glints of light. It turns empty air into living art, using simple, upcycled materials from nature and home. Picture a small twig obelisk rising from a planter, made by bundling several straight twigs at the top and spreading their bases. You anchor the ends into the soil and let a petite climbing plant weave through the structure. As new tendrils wrap around the branches, the obelisk slowly disappears under fresh growth. This tiny tower adds vertical interest without needing much space, making even a small pot feel like a mini garden feature. Think of two slender branches forming the sides of a tiny ladder, with smaller twigs tied across as rungs. When you lean this miniature trellis against a wall or inside a pot, a climbing plant finally has somewhere to explore. As vines slowly twist around each rung, the structure looks more alive every day. This simple ladder turns vertical space into a canvas for growth, perfect for tight corners and small balconies. Visualize a rustic wind chime where short twigs hang in a gentle cluster, each one supporting small shells or beads. You tie everything with thin cord and hang it beneath an eave or tree branch. When a wind arrives, the chime moves softly, creating subtle sounds and delicate motion. The mix of natural wood and found objects tells a story of beach walks and garden time, bringing character to even the smallest outdoor nook. Imagine crafting small stars and hearts by gluing tiny twigs into simple geometric shapes. Once dry, you tie on loops of twine and hang them for branches, fences, or hooks. Each ornament adds a touch of handmade charm, catching light and casting interesting shadows. Grouped together, they become a rustic garland. Used alone, they highlight special corners. These pieces are quick to make, but they leave a lasting impression in your garden. Picture intertwining several flexible branches into a cage-like lantern shape, just big enough to hold a single solar light. You place it on a stump or hang it from a hook, and as evening falls, the light begins to glow through the gaps in the wood. The shadows dancing across the ground and nearby plants feel warm and inviting. This small lantern proves that recycled branches can guide the way in a magical, eco-friendly style. Think about arranging flat pieces of branch into a small, shallow platform, then attaching a handle or hanger on top. Filled with seeds, this feeder becomes an open invitation for birds to visit your garden. As they land, their movement animates the rustic structure, making it part of a living scene. Even in a compact space, this simple feeder adds life, sound, and color, all supported by humble, upcycled wood. Picture bending a pair of flexible twigs into a soft arch and securing the ends in a pot or garden bed. You add a few cross ties for strength, then guide a trailing plant or succulent strands over the structure. Over time, greenery softens the lines, turning the simple arch into a living tunnel. This tiny feature invites the eye to pause and look closer, creating a sense of depth even in very small areas. Visualize a small teepee made from several branches tied together at the top and spread gently around a pot on a balcony. A young tomato or bean plant curls upward, finding natural support on every stick. This simple design saves space while still looking warm and rustic, even against a city backdrop. The contrast between rough branches and urban surroundings makes the plant stand feel like a little escape in the middle of daily life. Imagine framing a small mirror with a border of overlapped twigs, each one angled slightly differently for texture and depth. Once mounted on a wall or fence, the mirror reflects flowers, sky, and movement, making the garden feel larger. The rustic frame and the bright reflection balance each other beautifully. Every glance reveals a new composition, as if the mirror is constantly repainting the scene with light and nature. Picture finding a short, thick branch and carefully hollowing out its center to create a tiny trough for soil and succulents. You line the cavity with moss, then nestle in small rosettes and trailing varieties. The rough exterior contrasts with the smooth, fleshy leaves, making each plant stand out. Placed on a step, shelf, or table, this mini planter becomes a statement piece that proves even fallen wood can have a second, beautiful life. If this video sparked ideas for your own rustic garden corner, imagine what you can create with just a few branches and some twine. Take a look around your yard and start small with one project that excites you most. If you enjoyed this kind of upcycling inspiration, remember to like the video, subscribe to Homespot, and leave a comment sharing which idea you will try first.